Good evening, everyone. Welcome. Uh, Took the week off last week, as you guys know, but we are back this week. It is Friday night. It is 7 o'clock. That can mean only one thing. We are back with our 1 hour weekly live stream. What's up, Wolf? What's up, Matt? What's up, Karen? How is everyone doing this week? Hope you've all had a good week. So, guys, as you can tell by the title, tonight is all about Lusitania. And joining us on the shelf this week, as you guys know, I do not have a model of the Lusitania, unfortunately. But hey, we've got the next best thing. We've got her sister, Mauritania. We've got our other canard ship that we have a model of, my favorite canard ship, the Queen Mary. And last but not least, we have the White Star Line's response to Lusitania and Mauritania, the leader of the Olympic class right there, RMS Olympic. So, why are we doing Lusitania today? Today is not the anniversary of Lusitania sinking. It is actually going to be May 7th, which is next week on a weekday. I will not be able to stream that night, and I'm sure other people will probably be doing things just like they do for Titanic. So instead of me trying to compete with all those folks, I'm just going to do something tonight. Mark, what's up? How are you doing, my friend? Welcome. Hope you've had a good week. But we've got some cool stuff lined up for tonight. And we're going to start by looking at kind of like a little photographic history of Lusitania. We'll talk a little bit about her before we get into the sinking. And we actually have a simulation, a real-time simulation of Lusitania's sinking. So we'll be getting into that a bit later. But first, let's go ahead and start with some photos. Mark, great week. Well, I'm glad to hear it. I'm excited about tonight, excited to talk Lusitania with you guys. We don't really talk about her as much as we should, but, you know, here we are. So let's get into things here. We're going to start off first by looking at a photo of Captain William Turner. Bri, what's up? How are you, my friend? Welcome to Lusitania Night. Max, how are you, my friend? Welcome to Lusitania Night. We are just getting underway here. And we're starting off by looking at a photo of William Turner, captain of Lusitania, on her final voyage. But this photo is not on Lusitania. This is a year prior when he was on the Aquitania. I don't know if there's any photos of him on Lusitania. I was not able to find any, but that doesn't mean they're not there. But I thought this was a good shot of him, so I chose this one. Excuse me. Still battling a cough, guys. My apologies. Someday I'm going to get rid of that thing. I just don't know when. Um, but yeah, let's look. Let's start taking a look at the ship herself. That's actually. I should have put this photo in the batch later on. This is actually Lusitania as she is steaming away from New York for the final time. Here we are. One of the first pictures of Lucy. Now, as we know, Lucy and Mauretania, back in those times, uh, Cunard was naming their ships after Roman provinces. Lusitania was named after a province corresponding to modern Portugal. Uh, Keel was laid down at John Brown on the Clyde Bank. She was yard number 367 and 08. Or was it 1907? How embarrassing. I've got to look that up already. I know it was 07 or 08. Does anybody know off the top of their head? Let's see. Lusitania. When was Lucy's maiden voyage? It was 1907. I want to see the exact date of Lucy's maiden voyage. Her maiden voyage was September 7th, 1907. All right, so going back to the photos. This photo is right before Lucy's launching. Now, next one, we actually have a photo of Lusitania's launching right here. You can see people up on the forecastle up here too. So to answer your question, Matt, she was in service for 8 years. She was launched, her maiden voyage in 1907. She was attacked in 1915 on May 7th. So yeah, roughly 7.5, 8 years Lucy was in service. Now, moving on, and I tried to keep these in as best order as I can. It is a cool photo, Wolf. Both of these, actually, I really like both of these. But I couldn't I had to put this in here. Obviously, we see who's in the forefront here. As we know, the Olympic class was the answer, White Star's answer to Lusitania and Mauretania. So here's one of her rivals. Olympic is arriving in New York in this photo, and not Mauretania, Lucy is departing New York in this photo. Mark, she was a very young lady when she sank. Yeah, you figure she wasn't even 10 years old. And honestly, I would say, in my opinion, had Lucy not been attacked, she would have probably had the same type of career as Mauretania, because, really, if you think about it, in her first few years of service they weren't all that eventful. She did what she was intended to do. She was an ocean liner. She ferried people back and forth across the Atlantic with great success. And she was actually, as we all know, she did hold the blue ribbon for a very short time. She held it for 3 months until her sister Mauretania was put into service. As we all know, Mauretania held the blue ribbon, almost longer than anyone. She held it for what? I think it was 20 years Mauretania held the blue ribbon. So yeah, like I was saying, she let's go to another photo. There's a beautiful shot of Lucy right here, and she was a beautiful ship, guys. She was truly beautiful, and it looks to me this might have been closer to 1915 or thereabout, because the funnels in this photo look black to me. As we know, her funnels were all black at the time of the attack. So I'm thinking this is closer to 1915. So yeah, in 1910 was really prior to the attack. was one of there was a significant event that happened to Lucy on January 10th, 1910. Does anybody know what event happened to Lucy on that day? Matt, were these photos taken by the same photographer that was famous for the Titanic photos? I do not know for sure, Matt, but I would probably guess no. To my knowledge, Father Brown never sailed on Lucy, so I would assume no. And his name was Father Francis Brown. Wolf, those funnels are gorgeous. Absolutely, Wolf. I love the Canard funnels. Max, yes, Max. Rogue wave is the correct answer. Lucy was hit by a rogue wave on January 10th, 1910. And she was on her way from Liverpool to New York. 2 days into the trip, a rogue wave hit the ship that was 75 feet high. The wave rolled over the bow, slammed into the bridge. The forecastle got damaged. The bridge windows were smashed. And it was so intense that the bridge was shifted a couple of inches aft. That's how hard this wave hit Lucy. But she powered on. She survived the rogue wave. She kept going. She made her trip to New York, and albeit damaged, and also the deck and the bridge were given like a permanent depression of a few inches as a result of that. There were no injuries. There were no casualties. Like I said, she made it to New York just fine. Of course, everybody was a bit shaken up by it, but, she made it through. Matt, some scientists think rogue waves are caused by underwater earthquakes. I mean, we know tsunamis are, so why not a rogue wave? I mean, is it? I don't know much about those type of things, but I mean, you can't rule it out, can you? Perhaps someone who watches this later on as a replay can make a comment and educate me on that. Max, she's pretty strong. Yeah, Max, she really was. Here's another shot of her. I believe, and I could be wrong, but I think that this was when she's arriving in New York on her maiden voyage. And you see there's the Canard port right next to her. So this would be an earlier picture of her. And the funnels look lighter to me in this picture than they do in the previous. Let's go back a sec. Look how much darker the funnels look in this picture compared to this one. Maybe it's just me, but to me, it looks like this would be an early photo because look how much darker the black rings are as opposed to the rest of the funnel. So I'm kind of led to believe that this would be an early photo of Lucy. Like I said, possibly her maiden voyage when she's arriving into New York. Are those three sticks part of the mast? I think so. You're talking about, there's four actually. Here, 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 and here. Does anyone know, and I will admit to not knowing, does anyone know what those poles were for? It looked like it might have had something like some type of loading apparatus. I'm not sure. Mark, they're called booms. Thank you, Mark. And I admit I am not as familiar with the Canard ships as I am the White Star, and I've never seen these on the White Star ships. So, yeah, I did not know what they were called. Cargo booms. Okay, there you go. Brian Timothy. Hi, James. I'm watching you on my other channel. Oh, well, hey, that's cool, Brian. Thank you. Welcome back. As you already know what we're talking about. We're talking about Lucy here. Max says Queen Mary has these too. So that was probably a staple of the Canard ships. And in fact, you can see, well, no, my models do not have them. But as we all know, models aren't always 100% accurate. to the ships they're portraying. I need a swig of water, guys. I brought a whole gallon of water with me this time, so I don't have to keep getting up and going to get something to drink. Let's see. Bri, I think Olympic and Majestic had those cargo booms. I don't know about Majestic, but well, Mark's even saying it too. Olympic class had booms on their forward masts. Okay. I've never noticed that before on the Olympic class. All these years I've been looking at photos of Titanic and Olympic. Man, I need to check my eyes. So let's move on to another photo. Now here's a nice panoramic. This I know for certain is Mauritania arriving in New York on her maiden voyage. Beautiful panorama shot. What do you guys think of this? I love this photo. It's one of my favorite photos of Lucy. Oh, Mark, very cool picture. Absolutely, absolutely. Matt, I knew Matt would be blown away by the photo. Yes, they had the ability to do panoramic photos back then, Matt. Well, very nice photo, right? So yeah, still on early on in the beginnings of her career. And like I said, other than the Rogue Wave incident, she really did not have much of an eventful, exciting career, up until that point. I'm curious to know what the sailboat ship is. I have no idea, Matt. I do not know. Wolf saying same thing. Wonder what that sailing ship on the right is. That I do not know, guys. Let's move on. Here's another photo. I'm not sure exactly what time frame this is, but you can see the funnels are clearly in the canard red. You can see the black rings are very distinct from the rest of the funnel. So let's move on to another one. Here's another shot of her sailing. Here she is. It says in the caption, Lusitania passing the old head of Kinsale in 1911. So here she is. I don't know if this is before or after Olympic launched, but clearly a year before Titanic. Have you seen the pic of Lucy and the Wright brothers playing with each other? I think I have, Max. I do seem to remember that. Could you put that in the Discord and I can take a look at that later? I'm almost positive I did see that, but I won't know for sure until I actually look at the photo. Wolf, that's a gorgeous angle. Absolutely. It most certainly is. And a great shot of her, too. Max, yes, I will. Thank you, Max. Let's go on and look at another one. It almost looks like it says 1904 right here, but that's not possible. So I'm guessing that's actually 1907. Here's a nice stern shot of the ship. You can see some guys up on the docking bridge over here. Mark, Clipper stern. Let's go on to another one. Whoops. Thought I got too ahead of myself. Is it just me, or does she look so much longer in the stern section than the Olympic class did? Like there's so much more after the last funnel. I don't know. Every picture I see of Lucy, I always get that impression. Like her funnels are almost more disproportionately forward than what they were aft. I'm guessing this is somewhere in England. This doesn't look like any place I've ever seen in New York, but I could be wrong. Wolf, yes, she looks incredibly long. And look, you can see the same thing in this photo here. Here we are. Look how much more ship you still have after the fourth funnel. And yeah, this is also Lusitania in 1907. Mark says Aquitania has the long stern too. Maybe that was just a canard thing at the time. Because let's look at Mauritania real quick. Because obviously Mauritania is the closest thing we have to Lucy. So here, straight side view of the ship. And yeah, it almost looks the same thing to me. Look at the photo and look at Mauritania's stern section. So yeah, I guess that was just a canard thing at the time. Wolf, I kind of like the look. Yeah, I'm not criticizing it at all. It's just an observation I've always noticed when I look at side shots of Lucy. And of course, we know Lucy and Mauritania were not, they were like Olympic and Titanic in that they were not 100% identical, but they were near identical. Mark, my Lusitania model has it too. I'm really excited to see some work on that thing, Mark. So here we are. We don't have a date on this one. Waterloo Shore. I'm not sure what this HS-13 is, but here she is. And you know what's coincidentally, guys, is that Mauritania and Aquitania both served in the war. Both of them survived the war. The one of the three that remained a passenger ship did not. Yet, you flip it around to the Olympic class, the one ship that never served in a war because she never made it to a war, you know, the other two did serve in a war. One survived, the other did not. Max, be right back. Gonna restart my computer. It's acting weird. No worries, Max. We'll see you when you get back. Here's another shot of her. I'm not sure if this is also the maiden voyage or not. It kind of looks like it would be, but I mean, I imagine the Canard Pier always looked the same when Lucy was in service, but I'm not 100% sure, so don't hold me to that. And oh, here we go. We're getting towards the end here. One of the newspaper clippings here. Lusitania sunk by a submarine, probably 1,260 dead. Yeah, there's that sailing ship again. So yeah, this is probably that panoramic photo, Wolf, just cropped. That's probably what this is. So yeah, you can see here the articles. The headline was not 100% accurate. Twice torpedoed off Irish coast. We know she was only torpedoed once. Sinks in 15 minutes. We know it took 18 minutes. Froman and Vanderbilt missing. Washington believes that a grave crisis is at hand. I would say so. So yeah, guys, we're going to be getting into the reason why she did not survive the war, of course. Here's another headline. Let's see. Lusitania torpedoed. Mammoth Cunarder sunk on Irish coast. Yep. So let's go back to the previous photo where we saw her. What I know for sure was one of the last photos ever seen of her. Going all the way back to the beginning here. This photo right here. This is, again, one of the very last photos of her. This is her sailing away from New York on her final voyage. And one thing I've been looking at a lot, guys, is William Turner's deposition into the Titanic hearing. Well, not hearings. There were lawsuits involving Titanic for years after the sinking. William Turner was deposed a day before Lusitania left New York on the final voyage. And what they were asking him was, Yeah, they wanted a basically a captain's perspective on sailing, being the captain of a ship, what you do in circumstances where there's ice, anything and everything. Basically, trying to get a captain's perspective on things because obviously Captain Smith did not survive the sinking. So yeah, imagine that the day before he captains Lucy out of New York on her final voyage, he's being questioned about Titanic of all things. Wolf, so it's an ominous photo. Ominous and sad at the same time because I mean, and nobody knew it then, but this was everyone who saw this, they were going to see it for the last time. So let me grab another swig of water, guys. My throat's really dry. Now, one thing about that time, and I'm sure all of us in here have probably, or most of us in here have probably seen this. Ozzy, welcome to the stream. How are you doing, my friend? Dylan, welcome, Dylan. How have you been? We have not seen you in a while. Hope you've been doing all right. I know Steve was at the Queen Mary earlier. I've watched his little video that he posted on his channel. So, all right. One good thing about the final voyage is shortly before it happened, people actually somebody actually was out there with basically a 1912 camcorder. And we've got a little footage that we can actually look at of the real Lusitania. So here we go. Steve is having alcohol. I'm sure. Margaritas on the Mary, as I believe it was. What do I think of Kennard's new queen, the Queen Anne? Uh, Not a big fan of her, Dylan. I really don't. I'm really not digging the way she looks. It kind of looks like a giant cruise ship painted in Cunard colors. I think the Queen Mary 2, in my opinion, looks a whole lot better. It could be better. Absolutely. I completely agree with you on that. Queen Anne looks like a floating building. Yeah, pretty much. Max, love this footage. Yeah, so I mean, this is actually the day where Lusitania is going to leave New York for the final time. And it's amazing that somebody actually had the foresight to get all of this footage. This gentleman said to the cameraman, I will see this picture in London. Don't know if that person ever saw this or not. Wolf, those cars are incredible. Watch this. Look at a guy. He turns that sign over to vacant. I don't know if you saw that. Like the driver. There's this little thing he flipped upside down, and it was actually to say vacant in the car. Here we go, guys. Here's Lucy. She's at the Cunard Pier in New York. This is the final voyage right here, guys. Now, I believe this is the docking bridge that guy was just walking on. The raising of the flag is the signal to start. Yep, so this is the docking bridge. And like I said, he's the guy's raising the flags here. Means I want to sail on the Queen Elizabeth III. So here she is. She's moving out of the Cunard Pier right here. It's amazing that we still have this footage. She had some very strange looking cowl vents too. Elbert Hubbard. Elbert Hubbard was the author or whatever that was walking right here that they were talking about. This is amazing footage. I've seen some of it a few years ago. Oh yeah, I mean it's been around obviously for an extremely long time. I always wondered if this guy on right here on the bridge, if that was Turner, but I don't think it is. I mean, it's definitely an officer. He's got an officer's uniform on. And here she is on the starboard side. She's backing out. Mark, I love watching old video. Yep, and look at her name right there on the bow, Lusitania. And you know, from this angle, she really doesn't look that big. I mean, obviously she was. Now she looks large right here. But that previous shot, it didn't look like she was all that large. Again, it's sad to think the people you or see are going to lose their lives. Yeah, agreed. I mean, yeah. Unfortunately, a lot of them did. End of recording. And that's going to. Unfortunately, that's all the footage they have of her, but still, that's pretty amazing that we still have that footage today, guys. Now, we're getting to the point here where we are going to watch a real-time sinking of the ship. Now, it may not be the greatest because it's a little cheap game on Steam, but I'm loading it up right now. Wolf, why didn't Lucy stay as a warship? A lot of that, Wolf, those big ocean liners, it was not essentially it was not very cost efficient to the government at all to use these ships as troop ships. And I forget what Lucy's role was. I think I don't even remember if Lucy, trying to remember how, she was an armed merchant ship if I remember right. I could be wrong. Let me double check myself here because I'm going to say the wrong thing and I'm going to get shredded by someone who watches this later on. Can anyone remember what role, if any, Lucy had in the war? I know for sure if she did, she didn't have one for long because of how much it cost to run these ships. I'm just looking at Wikipedia real quick. I don't think she was ever. During construction, gun mounts for deck cannons were installed, but no guns were ever fitted. Both Lusitania and Mauretania were fitted with turbine engines, blah, blah, blah. I'm trying to see if she ever had any type of wartime service. I can't remember if she did. For the life of me, I cannot remember. She was an armed cruiser. Thank you, Mark. Okay. I thought so, but I couldn't remember for sure. Wolfgang odd the British would only use such a large liner for such a short time. Again, it all came down to cost. That's ultimately what it was about. Moonzer, got a new QE slid today. What is that, Moonzer? I don't know what that is. Wolf, I believe you're right about her being an armed merchant ship. Such an odd thing to call a converted liner. Let's see. Let's go into daytime exploration mode here, guys, and see if in this mode you can explore Lusitania during the day at your own pace. So that's what we're going to do. slide. Okay, I think I saw that, Dylan. I want to say if you posted that in your Discord, I'm pretty sure I saw that. So here we are. We're going to start off looking at her. This is the starboard side near the forward part of the ship. And you can see the lifeboats. You can jump. So here we are right at the bridge. Well, if they loved their cruisers during World War One, they had armored cruisers, protected cruisers, light cruisers, heavy cruisers, and battle cruisers. World War One was all about cruising, wasn't it? So yeah, I want to say the torpedo actually hit right about right here. But we're not going to, this is not the sinking yet, guys. We're just having a look around this model of Lucy. See, here's the very top of the, we're above the bridge right here. And there's those booms we were looking at. Let's just go ahead and jump down. We'll go on to the forecastle. The bridge, to me, in my view, not quite as elegant looking as the Olympic class, but it's still a very nice, sleek looking bridge. But yeah, here's those booms right here. So let's go up, climb up here and go back, and let's go actually inside the bridge. See if we can get a look at the bridge itself. You can do the Titanic scene on Lucy, right? So this would have been the wheelhouse. If she was like the Olympic class, the ship would have actually been steered from right here. And see, her bridge wings extend a little farther off the side of the ship, kind of like how Titanic did. So let's have a little stroll down here. Gonna walk Lucy's boat deck. Wolf Lucy's bridge kind of reminds me of Queen Mary's. That, I mean, that's probably not all that surprising. I mean, Queen Mary would be just a more modern version of like Lucy, Mauritania. Of course, incredibly larger too. Got some loading cranes back here. Now, this is one thing that I think Cunard did a better job on than White Star. You would see this later with Britannic. They maximized space. What I mean is you see there's no open well deck right here. You know, you've got a level on top of another level. This is a skylight. I'm not sure what would have been right here. Was it the first class restaurant back here somewhere? So here's the docking bridge we just saw in the video where the guy is raising the flags. Yep, extends out further from the sides. Let's go have a look down on the next level. Go all the way down to the poop deck. I don't know if it would have been called the poop deck on the Cunard ships. I'm just using White Star references because that's what I know. This is more like a maze than what the Olympic class would be. I guess just because I know the Olympic class so much better. Yeah, I should have got some pictures of her first class dining area because unlike the Olympic class, um, the Canarders had a two-story first class dining area. It's actually quite beautiful. I mean, I know we always talk about how luxurious the Olympic class was, but don't sell Lusitania and Mauritania short. They had some pretty elaborate areas of their own. You see, this is kind of a bare bones representation, but hey, it's better than nothing, right? Memory serves, when you first got this game, you didn't even have a mode where you could explore the ship. It was just like the sinking simulation only. I wonder which ship was heavier, Lucy or Mora. I believe Mauritania was slightly larger, not longer or wider. Mauritania was a little more heavy than Lucy was. Well, their German ships also had beautiful interiors. Oh, of course, the Imperators were absolutely gorgeous. So while we're walking around, guys, we're gonna start. I'm gonna start setting up the sinking situation here, or the attack. So Germany put a warning in the newspapers, and it went out. It was to 50 different American newspapers prior to the final voyage. And I've actually got it in front of me. I'll read what they put in the papers right here to you. It says, "Notice: travelers intending to embark on the Atlantic voyage are reminded that a state of war exists between Germany and her allies and Great Britain and her allies. That the zone of war includes the waters adjacent to the British Isles. That, in accordance with formal notice given by the Imperial German government, vessels flying the flag of Great Britain or any of her allies are liable to destruction in those waters, and that travelers sailing in the war zone on the ships of Great Britain or her allies do so at their own risk." And that's the exact message that the German embassy put in the papers. Now, one thing to point out is that it was intended to be put in the papers on Saturday, April 24th, May 1st, and May 8th, but due to technical difficulties, it did not appear until April 30th, the same day that Captain Turner was being deposed over Titanic lawsuits, the day before the final voyage was to happen. Now, making my way back up to the forecastle here. Now, as we know, a few days into the voyage, a fog. Oh, well, actually, on the final day, at 6 o'clock, when she's getting close to the coast of Ireland, a heavy fog set in. Turner posted extra lookouts, and he actually swung some lifeboats out just to be on the safe side. Err on caution. Kind of prophetic if you think about it. But I'm getting over here to the front so we can look at, we can get a nice view of the bridge here again before we start. Let's see, about there is that's a nice view right there. So he swung out 22 lifeboats as a precaution so they could be launched more quickly should the need arise. 8 o'clock, he ordered the speed to be reduced to 18 knots and then to 15, and he started sounding the foghorn. Now, obviously, this would concern a lot of passengers because passengers knew, as did Turner himself, U-boats were operating in the area. So a lot of passengers were kind of like, well, you shouldn't be doing this because, it's almost like, you know, it's like, hey, here we are, come shoot us. That's basically what passengers were worried about. But anyway, around noon, the fog lifted and he increased speed back to 18 knots. Now remember, this is a ship that was capable of going like 25, 26 knots top speed. Why he only went back up to 18 is something I still haven't learned exactly why he did that. See, Wolf. Remember, guys, learn from Lucy. If there's a war going on where ships are often being torpedoed by submarines, it might not be wise to go on a ship that is heading where the war is. No kidding. But though, at the same time, um, nothing on Lusitania's magnitude happened. Germany was sinking other ships, and if you see that book up there on the top shelf, Dead Wake: The Last Crossing of the Lusitania. I've read that book. I always keep it up on the shelf there. Germany was sinking other ships, merchant ships. And Lusitania was not the first. It was just, the largest. But it was always assumed that because of her speed, no German U-boat could ever catch Lusitania. And that was actually true. The fastest a U-boat could go on the surface was about 15 knots. Underwater, I think 12 was their top speed. Now, we're talking about Lusitania, who could go 25 knots. Now, even Olympic and Titanic, not as fast as Lusitania, could outrun a German sub because they were just that slow. So everybody always assumed that because of Lusitania and Mauritania's great speed, nothing could ever happen. Unfortunately, we know that ended up not being the case. U-20 spotted Lusitania at 1:20 in the afternoon. As the ship started getting closer, Walter Schweiger, he was the captain of U-20. Lusitania started turning in a different direction from U-20. Schweiger thought he was going to lose his target. Well, Turner makes another course adjustment and puts Lusitania basically in the most ideal path he could possibly put for Schweiger to launch a torp. He launches the torp. On the Lusitania, Leslie Morton was a lookout right up here in the crow's nest. You can't zoom in this one like you can Honor and Glory, but I mean, you see the crow's nest right there. And he shouted, "Torpedoes coming in on the starboard side." He did this through a megaphone, and he thought there was two torpedoes, but as we know, it was only one. So having said all of that, we're going to go ahead and get into the simulation here. I didn't think it'd quit the whole game. Thought it would just quit to the main menu. So let me relaunch. I thought it was going to bring me back to the main menu. And I'm going to put on my headphones so I can hear the torpedo coming. Now, one thing I don't know, did some of the passengers see them also? Not that I am aware of. As far as I know, only the lookouts saw the torpedoes actually coming in, but I could be wrong on that. All right, here we go. This simulation features a real-time sinking. This is 18 minutes. It takes a few minutes before the torpedo hits. And we'll be watching for the torpedo. At 2:10 in the afternoon is when Schweiger fires the torpedo. It's been a while since I read that book, Wolf. I would have to go back and reread that section, but I I could be wrong, but I don't think any passengers saw it. Now, if memory serves, in this game, the torpedo comes in like a missile, not a torpedo. I mean, it comes in really fast. So you have to keep an eye out for the bubbles. And we'll just keep looking out to sea like this. Yeah, it's 2:10 in the afternoon. The torpedo is fired from U-20. I thought I heard something coming in. Sorry about that. Torpedo is coming from the right-hand side soon. So we know for sure now to keep an eye out. Here it comes. There it is. There we go. Now, one thing that happens right when it happens, the number 5 lifeboat is completely blown off of its davits, and this simulation is not portraying that. But be aware that that did happen. You see, we instantly have a list. See if we'll hear the explosion. You hear that? 30 seconds in, there's an explosion deep inside the ship. To this day, nobody knows what that other explosion was. If only USS Kid from Greyhound was in this game. Now look at that. They're trying to get some lifeboats off of this thing already. Then Digital Lucy wouldn't have sunk. And you see she's got a heavy, heavy list already. Look at this. She's listing way harder than Titanic or Britannic ever did. Now what's happening on this side, when they go to try and launch lifeboats over here, because the list is so hard, the lifeboats are going to rub against the side of the hull, and a lot of them are going to tip over and dump people into the ocean. That's always been a speculation, Wolf, and he's saying maybe the explosion was from the guns and ammo they secretly had in her cargo bay, but I think that was disproven. I still, to this, personally, my personal opinion, I think it was a boiler explosion. So yeah, obviously she's listing real hard. So that happens at 2:10. At 2:12, Turner orders hard to starboard, and not long after that, hard to stop. The ship is not responding to anything because she lost a massive amount of steam pressure already. Like it dropped like 50 psi. So the ship is not responding to anything. And you can see, look at this list already. Oops, fell off. That's okay. So look at that list already. Now this game instantly launched all the lifeboats. I don't believe that they were launched this fast or that successful. Lusitania had 48 lifeboats, I believe, on board. Even if that number is not correct, She certainly had more than enough lifeboats for every passenger on board, as did every ship from here on out because of Titanic. But 6 lifeboats were successfully launched. That's it. Mark, I would guess a boiler exploded. That's my opinion too, Mark. I think it was a boiler explosion. And you notice she's still going. The ship has not stopped yet. Wolf, did you know the Carpathia and the Californian were actually sunk by U-boats during World War One? Yes, Wolf, I did know that. They had to torpedo Carpathia twice to bring her down. So this game is just like the Titanic Fall of a Legend, where you can walk on the water. It is made by the same developers, by the way. I'm trying to get to the port side so we can see if any of the if they're going to show any of the boats flipping over and not launching. We're just going to walk around the ship. Max, yes, she's listing fast. She listed extremely fast. The fact that she sank, Moonzer, the fact that she sank in only 18 minutes is mind-boggling. Seriously. Well, she took on a massive amount of damage. I would dare say she was damaged way more than what Titanic was from the iceberg, or even Britannic from the mine. And remember, another thing about Lusitania, she had those longitudinal bulkheads. So it's like a highway going down the ship, for the water. I think that was actually a really poor design. That's one thing I think the Olympic class got better, or did better, was having the bulkheads designed the way they did. I think that's one of the reasons that Titanic stayed afloat for as long as she did. Now, 4 minutes after, at 2:14, all the power on the ship fails. The rudder stops working, so they can't steer the ship to try and counterbalance the list. The ship completely blacks out inside the corridors and the hallways. And as a result, people are going to get trapped in elevators. The elevators are going to stop working. It's pitch black in the halls. So, yeah, I know it's an uncomfortable thought, but people drowned in elevators. They drowned in hallways because they could not get out of the ship. Turner has given the order. And when the power goes out, Turner gives the order to abandon ship. The wireless operators are already using SOS. They are getting responses because remember, they're actually only 11 miles from the coast. This is 11 miles off the old head of Kinsale. You notice she's still moving at this point. And this is another reason why they couldn't launch lifeboats, or they were unsuccessful in launching a lot of lifeboats, because the ship is still moving too fast for you to successfully launch lifeboats. They couldn't get a lot of the lifeboats off of the falls in time, so the lifeboats would just flip over or sink on this side. And on the other side, the lifeboats pretty much never had a chance, because you can see how hard the list is. So they essentially just rub against the hull, or the hull. They tip over, dump everybody that was in the boats into the ocean. You see the port side propellers coming out of water. So it's not until 10 minutes after the attack that the ship is finally reduced enough in speed to successfully launch lifeboats. Look at this list, guys. That is extreme. That's way worse than anything Titanic or Britannic encountered. So yeah, at 10 minutes, she's finally slow enough to successfully launch lifeboats, but you've got 8 minutes after that. Mark, almost 45-degree list. Yep. Was it 45 degrees the same angle of list or degree of list that Queen Mary experienced? Because it's like 4 or 5 more degrees. When she got hit by that rogue wave, she would have capsized. If it was just like a few more degrees more before she righted herself. Well, if to think only one torpedo did all that, right? Which is also mind boggling if you think about it, because it took two torpedoes to sink Carpathia, which obviously was a much smaller ship than Lusitania. Okay, Mark, 56 degrees list on the Queen. Yeah, it was like what, 2, 3 more degrees, and she would have capsized, but she was able to right herself. That looks like some type of stabilizers here that are coming out of water. Let's go have a look at that. Yeah, that's what that is, some sort of stabilizer. Oh, no, that's not. It kind of looked like it was from a distance. The sinking of Lucy also shows just how more durable warships were compared to ocean liners, if you think about it. Um, yes and no. Let's get back off of this. I mean, these things were designed to Mark Billich Keel. You know, they were designed to take certain types of damage, and really, even Britannic, I've always maintained that had the portholes been closed, Britannic would have survived being hit by a mine. But you had the portholes open, and you had the fact that I think some of the watertight doors failed to close as a result. Had the watertight doors closed on Britannic, the portholes been closed, I truly believe Britannic would have survived. There's like a little made-for-TV movie that's on YouTube as well about Lusitania sinking. It's only like an hour or something. I forget the name of it, but if you ever go on YouTube and look up like Lusitania movie or something, it's actually not that bad. It came out some years ago, but it gives you it's kind of like a documentary. Ozzy, how cold was the water? The water here was nowhere near as cold as it was where Titanic went down. I want to say it was in the 40s or the 50s, 40, 50 degree water. So some people did succumb to hypothermia, but a lot of people survived in the water too. In fact, Captain Turner was pulled unconscious out of the water. I think he had when he got off of the ship or knocked off of the ship, he swam to like a deck chair or something, and he clung onto that. He was found unconscious in the water. He had been floating for 3 hours, and he survived. And it's a pretty good documentary. It's not bad for what it is. Yeah, it's one thing I don't believe they definitely did not get right. They got the amount of lifeboats correct. You see the lifeboats out there in the distance. 6 lifeboats were successfully launched. That was it. But they all didn't go right off the bat like what we see in this animation. And she's moving, but barely. And while we're looking at this, I want to read to you guys what Schweiger wrote in his captain's log. Again, Schweiger was the captain of U-20. This is what Schweiger put in his captain's log. Torpedo hits starboard side right behind the bridge. An unusually heavy detonation takes place with a very strong explosive cloud. The explosion of the torpedo must have been followed by a second one. Boiler or coal powder? Question mark. The ship stops immediately and heels over to starboard very quickly, immersing simultaneously at the bow. The name Lusitania becomes visible in golden letters. That is from Schweiger's captain's log. What's up, Nathan? Welcome. Now look at it. She's going down real fast now. You can see the bows going under. That's Mark. I was reading about that earlier. Mark says, "Yeah, coal dust." That was a theory that Robert Ballard had, but from what I read earlier today, they're not sure about that because um, due to it being damp in there from the water, and I forget exactly how they worded it, but basically we're saying uh, it wasn't the coal dust, but we'll never know for sure. It could have been. So yeah, she goes really fast now. Max final plunge. Yep, it's happening. Final plunge is happening. Mark funnels did not fall off. Nope. Lusitania's funnels did not fall off. Now, of course, the whole inquiry into the sinking was total BS, because, in my opinion, because they tried to, uh, the British Admiralty tried to blame the sinking on Turner. Nathan, is this a simulation of what happened pretty much? It's not a completely accurate simulation, Nathan, but yes, it is a simulation. But yeah, the Admiralty built their case against Turner. They were saying he wasn't zigzagging. He was going too slow, which that may have been a legitimate thing. I don't understand. I never understood why he didn't speed the ship back up when the fog didn't clear. They tried to basically damn him, like it was all his fault, which I don't agree with. In fact, Lord Mercy, for us Titanic people, you should know the name Lord Mercy. He presided over both the Titanic inquiry and the Lusitania inquiry, and he was quoted as saying to his kids, the Lusitania case was damned dirty business. It was because he knew what they were trying to do. They were trying to blame everything on Turner. In the end, the blame goes with the people who were responsible for it. You know, Turner didn't intentionally try to sink his own ship or put it in a position to be sunk. Wolf, if anyone's wondering what happened to U-20, she was apparently grounded in 1916 and then destroyed by her crew, according to Wikipedia. Yes, and Schweiger would go on to a different sub, U-88, and he died later in the war on U-88. Now you can still see the ship right here, so this thing doesn't take her completely out of view. But she's gone. The lifeboats are over here. Well, if anyone is to blame for her sinking, it would just be the Germans. Absolutely, of course. They were responsible for it. And I remember there was this conspiracy theory, and I don't know when this one came out. Everything's got a conspiracy theory. That the Admiralty and the British government intentionally put Lusitania in harm's way as a means of getting her to be attacked and sunk, or even under the threat of being attacked and sunk, to get the United States into the war. Take that also with a grain of salt, like every other conspiracy theory, because for one, nobody could have known, including the British, that sinking a ship would have been enough to draw the United States into war, and it didn't. If you remember, it was another 2 years before the United States entered the war when the German government basically said, you know what, screw this, we're going to start sinking ships indiscriminately, we don't care who you are. That's when the United States said, enough. Now you got to deal with us too. Wolf, wonder why they wanted to blame him so bad. Keep the egg off their own face, I suppose, Wolf. I never quite understood that myself. I mean, you can, just like Captain Smith on Titanic, to me, you can debate whether or not there were things he could have done differently. And of course, we look at this with the benefit of hindsight. My thing is, I don't think he should have been sounding the foghorn. The zigzag pattern, you can question whether or not that was a valid tactic, because, I mean, we saw, how can I say this? If he was doing a zigzag pattern, he steered the ship once away from the U-20. Then when he changes course, he goes back. But I don't think he was doing the zigzag pattern then. I'm almost positive he wasn't. But later on in World War II, we could see what happens when a zigzag pattern goes the wrong way. Queen Mary completely sliced HMS Curacao in half doing the zigzag pattern. There were no other ships around Lusitania at the time, but you get the point. My biggest thing, in my view, is he should have sped the ship back up. That's the only thing I can really find fault in him for. It's just my opinion. But yeah, ultimately, he was not held responsible for it. In the end, everybody, I don't know if rather or not they reluctantly did it, but they did it. They came to their senses, and everyone said, it wasn't Turner, it was the Germans, it was their government. They were responsible. And as I said earlier, Schweiger was killed in action on U-88. So he would never see. Did my lifeboat just disappear out from under me? It did. So Schweiger would never see a court of law. He would never be tried because he was killed in action. So that's it. That's the story of the sinking of the Lusitania, guys, as best I can tell it. So, We're actually well past the 1 hour mark, guys. Um, so we're going to go ahead and wrap it up right here. But keep you guys informed of a couple of things that's going on. I need to take these things off my ears. We will be back next week again for our regular live stream schedule. I've got some pretty exciting stuff that I plan on sharing with you guys, including there might be another giveaway next week. So you definitely want to attend next week. Um, you guys know the kid recently got the dry dock. She arrived yesterday, so we'll be talking a lot about that. Be talking about my visit to the USS Alabama. So it's going to be a pretty topic-heavy show next week as well. Uh, so yeah, that's it. Our schedule, of course, our weekly videos come out at 7 in the morning on Friday mornings. Our video short of the day is every Monday through Friday at 11 p.m. And our weekly 1 hour live stream is at 7 o'clock. Again, for those of you who are interested, I recommend going find that movie about the Lusitania on YouTube. I think I'm going to do that tonight, actually, because I don't have any plans after this. And hopefully we'll see, Tom Linsky or somebody else doing something on the actual anniversary day, which I believe is I think the 7th is Tuesday. Yeah, Tuesday, May 7th is the actual anniversary of the sinking. So hopefully I'll see you guys next week, and you guys enjoy your weekend, and thanks for watching. And of course, until the next time, you guys know the drill. Drive safely.